Picture this. You're driving alone on a back road in rural Illinois. Fields of corn stretch out on both sides, taller than your car, dense and dark. And standing right at the edge of the road, just barely caught in your headlights, is a figure. Tall, still, watching you pass. You speed up. You don't stop, because something deep in your brain is screaming at you not to. That instinct might have just saved your life. Tonight we're diving into one of the most unsettling pieces of American folklore that almost nobody talks about outside of the farming communities where it originates. The stranger in the cornfield. And the deeper I dug into this legend, the more I realized that sometimes the scariest stories are the ones with missing people at their center. Let's start with what locals actually describe. Across parts of the rural Midwest, there are consistent accounts of a humanoid figure seen standing at the edge of cornfields, usually at dusk or after dark. Witnesses describe it as unnervingly still. It doesn't run, it doesn't speak, it simply stands and waits. And in some accounts, it appears to beckon. A slow gesture, almost like an invitation to follow it into the stalks. Here's where the story gets genuinely disturbing. The disappearances. Farming communities in Illinois, Iowa, and Indiana carry stories passed between generations about individuals, usually men working the land alone, who wandered into cornfields and never came out. Search parties would comb hundreds of acres and find nothing. No footprints beyond a certain point. No clothing. No remains. Just silence and corn. Now, from a purely rational standpoint, cornfields are genuinely dangerous. They're disorienting environments. Once you lose your visual reference points, corn rows look identical in every direction. People have died from heat exhaustion and dehydration after getting lost. There is documented evidence of individuals perishing in fields without any supernatural explanation required. But that doesn't explain why multiple unconnected witnesses across different states and different decades describe the same figure, same height, same stillness, same unsettling gesture of invitation. Folklorists who have studied this phenomenon point to a psychological phenomenon called the sentinel effect, where isolated human shapes in open landscapes trigger an ancient predator detection response in our brains. We are hardwired to treat a still, watching human silhouette as a threat. That's evolution doing its job. But the legend suggests something more intentional, that whatever stands at the edge of those fields is not lost, it is hunting. The corn itself plays a role in the mythology. Historically, corn was sacred to indigenous communities across North America, connected to life, death, and transformation. Some researchers suggest the stranger figure taps into that older spiritual geography, a guardian or a predator, depending on your relationship with the land. What I find most haunting is this. Every community that carries this story treats it as a warning, not entertainment. Grandparents tell children don't follow strangers into the corn. Don't respond to something waving at you from the field edge. Don't go in after dark alone. When a legend functions as a survival rule, you have to ask yourself, what real experience created it? Stay out of the corn at night. That's my advice. And maybe don't stop for figures standing on empty roads.